to the Maggot Show. This is your host, Maggot. Let's see, there's quite a few different things happening. There's music in the background. MPs back calls for fresh phone hacking investigation. MPs have approved a fresh parliamentary inquiry into phone hacking allegations, following criticism of the actions of News of the World journalists. After a debate on the issue, MPs agreed the Standards and Privileges Committee should look into alleged unauthorised activity by the media. Ex-News of the World staff say hacking was rife when Number 10 Communications Director Andy Coulson was editor. Mr. Coulson has repeatedly denied that he was aware of the practice. MPs referred a motion on the issue of phone hacking to the committee, which will meet on Tuesday to decide the remit of its inquiry and how wide-ranging it will be. I think the remit sort of means limitations or something. How much they can investigate or something. Yes. Unlike other Commons bodies, the Standards Committee has the power to compel witnesses to give evidence. Speaking in the debate, Labour MP Chris Bryant, one of those who claim their phones were targeted, said the Commons felt angered. Tip of the iceberg. Well, it's actually some headlines tip of iceberg, but I think tip of the iceberg sounds better, so that's what I'm read out as. So there. Reported cases were only the tip of the iceberg. Lettuce, he added, as he believed MPs from all parties had been victims of phone hacking, with information gleaned used by a variety of newspapers. Mr. Bryant said further allegations about the extent of phone hacking at the News of the World, which had been denied by the newspaper, warranted extra investigation. He said the committee should examine how many MPs and ministers had been targeted, how widespread the practice was among newspapers, and whether the police responded appropriately in terms of informing MPs. "It's not just about one man," said Mr. Bryant. "It is about what kind of investigative journalism we want in this country," he added. "It is about whether this House will be supine when its members' phones are hacked, or whether it will take action when the democratic rights of MPs to do their job without legal hindrance or interception has been traduced." Liberal Democrat MP Simon Hughes said he believes some witnesses have been afraid to appear before previous inquiries, and there was terrible scope for abuse if the practice of phone hacking was not curtailed. "There is a whole sea of illegal and undesirable activity here," he argued. It is not clear what the Standards Committee, which has the power to investigate matters relating to parliamentary privilege, could do if it found the rights of MPs had been breached. Mr. Bryant suggested those it found against could be barred from Parliament or called to the chamber of the House of Commons to be admonished in person. That doesn't mean they beat them up or anything, which would be funny, like whipped or something. "Thou shalt be whipped in the face 12,000 times." It just means like giving a shouting out or something. The News of the World's former royal editor, Clive Goodman, and private investigator Glenn Mulcair were jailed in 2007 for conspiracy to unlawfully access voicemail messages, but the newspaper said this had been an isolated case. Fresh claims. Labour has been pressing for further action after fresh claims were made in the New York Times last week about the extent of phone hacking by journalists and Mr. Coulson's direct knowledge of it, denied both by the paper and its former editor. The Metropolitan Police have said they will interview former News of the World journalist Sean Hoare of the sources cited in the New York Times article next week. Meanwhile, another former News of the World journalist, Paul McMullen, has questioned Mr. Coulson's assertion he had not been aware of staff hacking into voicemails. Mr. McMullen, who worked for a short period with Mr. Coulson when he was deputy editor, told the BBC's World at One. He would have known, as an experienced journalist, that phone hacking, the teenage schoolyard trick, was something people did. It was so prevalent 10 years ago. Hacking into phones only became illegal in 2000 under the Regulation of Investigative Powers Act. Mr. Coulson, who was editor of the paper between 2003 and January 2007, told the Commons Culture Committee last year, during an earlier investigation of the case, that he had never used or condoned phone hacking. Responding to MP's decision to hold another inquiry, Number 10 said nothing had changed in terms of Mr. Coulson's position, and he continued to have the Prime Minister's full backing. The Metropolitan Police Force has come in for criticism for its handling of the case after it decided last year there was insufficient evidence to pursue allegations that Glenn Mulcair had targeted a host of public figures, including leading politicians. Labour's Tom Watson said the police had failed to interview key figures at News International, the newspaper's publisher, including its chief executive and former News of the World editor Rebecca Brooks. Colleague Paul Farrelly, a member of the Culture Committee, said former Assistant Commissioner Andy Hayman's suggestion that no stone had been left unturned during the original inquiry was simply untrue. Our report was highly critical of the police investigation, and frankly, had Mr. Hayman been in charge of the Watergate inquiry, President Nixon would have safely served a full term, he said. It is unacceptable for the police to say that they had conducted a full and rigorous inquiry. They did not! Mr. Bryant is seeking a judicial review of what he says was the Met's failure to inform him and others alleged to have been targeted, including former Deputy Prime Minister Lord Prescott. The News of the World has said it will investigate any allegations of wrongdoing if presented with evidence, but has questioned Mr. Hoare's account, saying he was dismissed from the paper and his comments should be treated with extreme scepticism. This matter, which largely related to alleged behaviour 5 years ago, has become intensely partisan, he said in a statement. As we have always made clear, we have a zero-tolerance approach to wrongdoing and will take swift action if we have proof. Just check what we've got in the chat room. Yeah, it's sort of a bit crazy because we've got this company called GCHQ, Government Communications Headquarters, and allegedly what they do is they monitor your phone lines and all your emails and check them all, and check them to see if you've got like planting bombs or something, e-bombs or something. Planning to like take over the world or something like that. But they seem to be slightly aloof, slightly astray.
Like Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah.
Like Pinky and the Brain trying to take over the world.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Any two mice emailing each other, they'll read it, pick up on it. And that's supposed to be. There's the public mission statement. So I don't know.
I don't know if I feel comfortable. I don't know if I feel comfortable with mice emailing each other, anyways. So maybe they should keep a tab on the mice that email each other.
Yeah, the lab mice.
I mean, if there's mice that use the email, I really think that we should have full attention being watching these fellas. Because why is there mice talking? I don't understand. Okay, there should be kind of monitoring on that anyways. I'm just saying, don't make me an elitist, but I do believe that the mice that communicate with each other by email should be monitored.
Well, they might have internal emailing devices in them, you see, as part of the lab experiments. There was one that had like an ear on him, but according to one talking mouse I heard from, that was conspiracy. Yeah.
Well, you're right, man. But this has not been going on for this. I mean, this has been going on forever. They've been monitoring us and keeping track of us. When they had the Patriot Act, get put up. That basically the rules that they had about tapping our phones and our monitoring us, those went out the window. They don't have those no more. There's no laws, and they can't. So now it really don't matter. They just do it.
Yeah.
Because no law saying, "Oh, you can't do that," because they are the law. You've seen that Judge Dredd movie, where what's his name? Sylvester Stallone. He's just, I am the law.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's exactly what they're saying. They are the law.
Yeah. Well, that's what sheriffs are as well. The sheriff's
Yeah.
supposed to be the law, so
That's,
he was carrying on that role.
no, that really scares me. I hear a lot of time they talk about that, and I know I gotta probably bring it up. If I say it now, I'll probably have to talk about it in the future because I know I'll get some the Constitutionists come at me and say, "Well, what do you mean?" Um, they're going to use the sheriffs, and they're going to use your state laws. They're going to use your state, the Constitution, and the state right against you, sort of like what they're doing with the Arizona bill. And they use it against you. So just be careful and be watchful of that.
Yeah, yeah. It's all a bit strange. So yeah, I don't know what GCHQ are actually up to. I reckon they're going on a bit of a silent strike. I don't know why. Be quite interesting to find out though. It probably leaked through. There was an article. Tim Reefat has done this thing about. He's done an update on the MI6 thing. I haven't had a chance to listen to it. He did it on the Jeff Wrench show. I might have downloaded it by now, possibly. But yeah, it might be something possibly going on. If they're not monitoring the phone lines, what are they doing? What are they doing? And why would they be on strike? Who knows? Okay, there's a little video on that one. I'll just post a link to it. I don't know if the video's any good. It might be rubbish. It might be quite interesting. Yeah, so I mean, what their beef was, it wasn't, they're monitoring our phone lines and it's terrible and we don't know what to do. It's even like Joe Average knows that they do that because we've got GCHQ doing it. What they were supposed to be protecting against was like third parties monitoring your phone lines and intercepting phone calls and using it. Sort of outside inverted commas government institutions doing it, like pirates and terrorists basically. And that was supposedly what GCHQ was supposed to be monitoring against. And it seems that they haven't been doing it. So, slap wrists all round. Yeah, you'll get a reduction in your milk supply. No more orange juice for you. Okay, next one. Defence firm BAE cuts 1,000 jobs. Ooh. Okay, that's slightly less interesting. Defence company BAE Systems has revealed plans to cut almost 1,000 jobs at sites across the UK. I'll skip to the next one. It's quite self-explanatory, really. Iran to release one of 3 US hikers. Report. Well, yes, it would be a report. It's at the top of the report. The headline says. Iran is to free on Saturday one of 3 detained American hikers accused of espionage. Reports say. They say that Iran's culture ministry informed reporters about the planned release in a text message. Shane Bauer, 27, Sarah Shord, 31, and Josh Fatal, 27, were seized last July after entering Iran from Iraq. Tehran accuses the Americans of entering Iran illegally and having links to US intelligence. On Thursday, reporters received a text message from the Iranian ministry which, according to the Associated Press, said, "The release of one of the detained Americans will be on Saturday, 0900 hours at the Estakli Hotel." Yeah, I see it in a UK time by the looks of it. Well, it didn't say, it just says 0900 AM. It's like, okay. Oh, it must have been local time, I suppose. This is the same hotel in Tehran where the parents of the Americans were allowed to briefly meet them in May. The ministry did not say which one of the 3 hikers would be released and why. However, there is a suggestion that this could be to mark the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Fitr, the BBC's Tehran correspondent John Lane says. Some time ago, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad hinted about a possible deal for Iranians held in the US, but it is not clear that ever developed into firm negotiations. That this ever developed into firm negotiations. Our correspondent says. He adds that while the behind-the-scenes deal is possible, okay, this guy likes missing out words, the Iranians may be acting quite independently for their own reasons. The hikers' mothers insist their children were hiking in North Iraq's Kurdistan region and unintentionally crossing an unmarked border. The 3 have been held in Tehran's Evin prison. They have not been publicly charged. In December, Iranian Foreign Minister Maggotaur said they would stand trial, but he did not specify on what charges. Being infidels. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has called on Tehran to free the hikers and said that any charges would be unfounded. Well, So the end of the article says got to free them, and the beginning article says they are freeing them. So nicely written article there. Okay, totally unpredictable this one. US President Obama condemns plans to burn the Quran. You see, he waited in line, very nice, in a nice Masonic line or whatever, you know, and standing in front of the global TV screen, and it's like, I condemn this plan, I condemn this plan, one after the other, you know, like on a conveyor belt, bleating away at the cameras for the other sheep, or either blaring at them, so they get meh back. The US President Barack Obama says plans by a small church to burn copies of the Quran on the anniversary of 9/11 are a recruitment bonanza for Al-Qaeda. Mr. Obama said that if the burning went ahead in Gainesville, Florida, it could endanger US military personnel serving in Pakistan and Afghanistan. There's Gary drinking an ice. The plan has drawn widespread international condemnation. Surprise. Interpol has issued a global alert. Warning, somebody's going to burn a book. Warning, it's a sacred book. Warning, they're going to burn the Quran. Islam fascists everywhere. Unite against this terror attack. Somebody's going to burn a book. Yeah, warning, the burning could provoke violent attacks on innocent people. And it's like, you know, have you heard of feeding the fire?
Well, it's even more easier than that, yeah. Mag, because what they said there in that little press release, order can go bomb any fucking building they want to and blame it on the Muslims because they burn the Quran.
Well, yeah.
People that thousands of miles away, they're fighting. They're worrying about getting shot, and having a nice place to lay. And the depleted uranium shells laying all over that is killing them. So they do have time to actually get up and go to a different country to. That is killing them. So they do have time to actually get up and go to a different country to. Yeah. No, it's fucking stupid. They don't even know what's going on right now. They're running for their lives and dying right now is what they're doing. So, 9/11 was an inside job. They never did the first one. They never did that.
Yeah.
So,
but they're
stupid to think that they're going to do the next one.
It's
not.
To whether people actually believe it was, or people just going to assume, yeah.
Oh, that's what they're doing. They're testing it with the Mexicans. That's why I think the word terrorist is going to be turned into federal or federale, because people are wanting to shoot federal Mexicans now. It's just they think of everybody's a federal. It's just made up words that they put out there. They associate them with each other. It's a big confusing thing. They want us to kill people. These people. Because that's the only way they're going to win is with hate. That's the only way they're going to do it. We have to kill each other. They're not strong enough and many enough to kill us. But we are going to have to kill each other. That's what they're going for. Civil unrest. They, a lot of people think they're going to try to take the guns. I guess if they could take the guns, they would. But plan now, without having the guns, you won't be able to just shoot random people. And the thing is, population control. If they wanted you dead, they could just drop a bomb on you. From a remote-controlled airplane.
Well, I mean, in Waco, they needed to have people with guns so they could shoot them for having guns. So yeah, you're totally right on the whole gun things. Yeah.
They shot each other. Yeah. In Waco, they shot each other and killed each other. The one guy shot himself. The one guy threw a fucking nade in the window and then fucking lit up his buddies. And then one of his buddies in the back shot back through and got him, but he managed to get out. It's fucking whatever. Waco was before I think they had remote control airplanes just to drop bombs. And plus, it's a delicate procedure because it's it's not a global. It wasn't a global takeover then. It was just leading up and setting in plays and putting fear and stepping stones. It's just basically building their platform, getting ready for when they lay their house down.
Thing, whether you can call it instant or whatever, was just to test the public's reaction to having the military attacking civilians, because at the end they used tanks, And so it was like, well, it was like a success from their end because the nobody really kicked up about that. They sort of fell in line with the they're nut jobs. Nobody was really like, no, that they're using military on civilians here. They can do it there, they can do it anywhere, sort of thing. So I think that's what the whole reason for it was, pretty much.
Well, a lot of people don't even know about the underground bunker that they basically ran over and blocked and caught on fire and
they
killed
knew about
everybody
in
inside.
They knew the whole layout and everything in advance.
Yeah. They wouldn't. They went in there just to kill those people.
Yeah.
That's all they wanted to do was kill those people. It wasn't about anything but them dying.
Having the military do it to civilians and seeing whether there'd be a public outcry, because they thought, if there was, then you should be able to contain it with an excuse that the guy's a nut job or whatever. But it was all in preparation for martial law, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's just testing the water. They've already done it with the gun grab. I guess when they do call martial law in some places, a good gun grab, that's the reason why they got it so scary. It's not the fact that they want the guns. It's they want you to use them. Okay? To the people that's going out to try to grab the guns, whether it's the army or whoever it's coming out to actually get the guns, those guys are under the impression that you having the guns are bad and you should, give them up. But the people that are in charge, the elite, are actually counting on you guys because you've already seen it. That's why they released a lot of bad press on it, and that's why the whole gun thing's going on now. They want you to actually keep your guns.
Well, I mean, what they'd
them.
like, sort of ideally, is they were like on every block for there to be an ex-army, I don't know, colonel, whatever, who's got absolutely loads of guns, loads of access to them, and like he left, he went AWOL or whatever, and he's a bit nutty, and so at the moment's notice they can just trigger him, and he'll start handing out guns. And go absolutely ape shit and start shooting up everybody, and everybody else will start shooting up each other. That's what they want. They want, just like a society of people who are really unbalanced, with loads of access to guns and ammo, and just do the dirty work for them, because there's too many people for them,
You can't get their new world order without civil unrest. They cannot get it. They had to make people... basically they have to remind people of the loss of life where people actually start giving up. You understand? They have to see their friends and loved ones dying, and then people usually give up real easy. To the powers that be. And usually are a one world type of government or something, so war can never happen again.
They've been trying that one since whenever.
It's a really smart stick they got going on there. It's actually pretty good. They start the wars, and then they pretend to hate them. So they have a power that they can put in. A unity.
I think The Shape of Things to Come by H.G. Wells, like written in something like the early 20th century and made into like 2 movie versions. I think one of the prevalent themes of that was like, this is the last war. No, this is the last war. No more wars after this one. We will have world peace. Wings across the world. It was totally UN NATO combination, going to save the world. But it's just it's basically to make things easier for them to have wars, so they can cut down the population when they need to, and they don't want to public the answers back. They don't want.
No, they need a public that is super afraid and will give over their liberties and their freedom
one
at
step
a moment's
ahead of them
notice.
On the whole sort of like genocide front sort of thing. Oh yeah, we know we done wrong. Yeah, we'll gladly slaughter each other. We're just bad people.
Well, and the sad thing is we have a chance here to change it if we could just question our authority. If we can question our authority in the truth movement, like Charles Veach, and I'm sorry, guys, that they do things in plain sight. They come out in plain sight with it. There's no reason for Charlie to do that. Everything he's doing promotes the abolishing of religions, and that there is a really good telltale sign to tell where they lie at, where their allegiance is. Because he really has never used to push the, getting rid of religions. He never really mocked them that much. But now he is. He mocks it. He said on the Rupert show, on ex-Rupert, He said that he gets paid 50
Yeah.
grand for this. I need a link to that thing because I need to cut that part out so I can
Sure.
use that as my intro.
Yeah, I mean, I uploaded it to TalkShoe. Have a look.
Well, send me over a link so I can actually go look at it because
Okay.
I don't know how to get over to your talk show.
Well, yeah, it's
Send me a link. I'll get out of your hair,
Maggot
too.
Talks on TalkShoe. When you got the search button on TalkShoe, you can search for it on that. I'll just post it on the chat room as well. Just a general link. Maggot exposes Rupert Bear with Charlie Veach. It's the actual one. Okay. Yeah, I'll just can't read this. This is I'm just doing this because this is showing like how they're inflaming the situation, causing massive fuss. Because of course, like if everybody sort of agreed to like not really talk about it, because it's nothing much, you know, it's not that big a deal. You know, burning the Quran. I mean, it doesn't need to become like a global outcry. You know, that's why I was like laughing about the Interpol thing issuing a global alert. But it's because they're all backing each other, sort of like Masons, like standing with their hands behind their backs or crossed.
I'll just burn the 9/11 report.
Yeah.
I think we can counter it. You know, I mean, if we're going to burn a book, let's burn a book that's totally fiction anyways. You know, let's just do that. And the 9/11 Commission is probably, well, I'm not going to even say probably, it is the most
That's the
fictional
one
book
developed
ever
by the 9/11
created.
Commission, wasn't it? Yeah.
Either that or the Tooth Fairy. The Tooth Fairy made it, or, yeah, the 9/11, I forget which one. Somebody that really wasn't real created that.
Okay. I'll continue. The US State Department has advised American citizens abroad to be on the alert for possible attacks and to avoid areas where demonstrations might take place. Terry Jones, the pastor behind the threat, leads a congregation of 50 followers in the city of Gainesville. And of course, you know, Jones again, Jonestown. Well, obviously the Axe Jones. They're always associating Jones with sort of like religious Christianity, and Jones isn't that slang for a willy as well, a penis, cock, whatever. So don't know. There's something there. In an interview with ABC Television, Mr. Obama said he hoped Mr. Jones understands that what he's proposing to do is completely contrary to our values as Americans, that this country has been built on the notion of freedom and religious tolerance. Terry Jones also said the burning would be a way to stand up to terrorism. So he's totally backing the sort of like old world order, new world order policy. You know, so the Quran is like an evil book, and you know, evil people read it and all that sort of stuff. And as a very practical matter, I just want him to understand that this stunt that he is talking about pulling could greatly endanger our young men and women who are in uniform, the president said about Jones. Look, this is a recruitment bonanza for Al-Qaeda. You could have serious violence in places like Pakistan and Afghanistan. This could increase the recruitment of individuals who'd be willing to...
Everyone blow up.
Huh?
Right, everywhere that they're killing people already, it could actually cause some violence.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I know it's totally inflame. It's just totally to inflame things.
Yeah, it's a setup. It's a game. It's actually like a little play.
Yeah.
It's a movie script.
I know. 'Cause you got to bear in mind, all they're doing is talking about burning some books in one location, and it's all the politicians all jumping up saying this is that, and you know, like it's a threat to our citizens everywhere. But you know, because we've got to respect the people's freedom, we'll allow them to carry on with it. You know, don't worry about their freedom all the other times, but you know, give them the freedom to do what we want them to do. Yeah, he goes, this could increase the recruitment of individuals who'd be willing to blow themselves up in American cities or European cities.
Well, no, what increases the willingness for somebody to blow themselves up is when you kill all their family members and leave them with nothing. That's what does it every time. Nothing about burning a book. That's just an excuse they're using so they can kill more Muslims.
Yeah, I know, because they want people to think that Muslims are so unbalanced, and just like Allah would have told them this as well, that you know, if anybody burns a Quran, they must go out and kill. You know, that's what they're all hoping, and of course, you know, they'll just like be using all the mullahs or rabbis and stuff as puppets to promote this as well. It's hardlinism.
Right. Well, that's exactly what's going on. It's a bunch of bad people. They're in charge, and now there's a bunch of idiots following these bad people,
Yeah.
and now a lot of people are going to die.
Yeah, yeah.
Really easy.
It continues. I hope he listens to those better angels, and understands that this is a destructive act that he's engaging in. That's the end of him. Later on Thursday, US officials say they were considering contacting Mr. Jones directly to urge him to reconsider his plans after everybody else has had put their aura in, you know. Mr. Jones had told USA Today he could potentially cancel his plans if officials spoke to him directly. Excuse me. Defense Secretary Robert Gates was considering taking this unusual measure of calling this pastor and trying to convince him that it is not the right thing to proceed with, said Pentagon Press Secretary Jeff Morrell. I mean, what they've done is they've allowed it to inflame so much that even if they do cancel it, let's say he changed his mind, then it's going to happen other places, because they spread the germ. They spread the germ around at least the USA, the germ of the idea of burning Quran as it being a controversial thing to do. And of course you have YouTube clips coming up, people burning Qurans. I mean, it's like, I don't know whether it's going to make any difference now if they do it, but I think that was the idea all along. Just to spread the idea around, put it all over the global networks. Diseased mind headline. Mr. Jones said on Wednesday that his plan to burn the Islamic holy book was intended to draw attention to his belief that something's wrong. It's genius. It is possibly time for us in a new way to actually stand up, confront terrorism, Mr. Jones told reporters outside his church. US officials say they cannot intervene as the church's actions would probably be protected by they're not sure, would probably be protected by the US Constitution's guarantee of freedom of speech. So yeah, all the world's best lawyers and solicitors and stuff, you know, they've been too busy to actually bother checking this for them. And they'll do it sometime, you know, like 2 minutes before it started or something, or 2 minutes before it's finished, rather. Interpol, the international police organisation, has issued an alert to all of its 188 member states, warning of a significant threat to public safety. Yes. If the proposed Quran burning by a pastor in the US goes ahead as planned, there is a strong likelihood that violent attacks on innocent people would follow. The agency said it was acting partly in response to a request from the Pakistani Interior Minister Rehman Malik. Earlier, Pakistan's President Asif Ali Zardari said in a statement that anyone who even thought of such a despicable act must be suffering from a diseased mind and a sickly soul. It will inflame sentiments among Muslims throughout the world and cause irreparable damage to interfaith harmony and also to world peace. Interpol concern. Mr. Zardari's comments echoed a chorus of condemnation from both Muslim and non-Muslim countries. Malaysia called it a heinous crime. An heinous crime, while Indonesia said it would damage relations between Islam and the West. Don't know what that means about Islamists living in the West, but, you know, damage it even more. In the UK, Downing Street said it would not condone the burning of any book. We would strongly oppose any attempt to offend any member of any religious or ethnic group. We are committed to religious tolerance, said a spokesman for Prime Minister David Cameron, who's apparently in France at the moment. I think he's in France for the next 4 or 5 days. So that means he'll be back on the 13th. And he's got somebody else in his place at the moment. The plan has also sparked condemnation from Iran, the Vatican, NATO, and the top US Afghan commander. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called it disgraceful. Well, the Organization of the Islamic Conference, which represents more than 50 states and promotes Muslim solidarity, said Mr. Jones was following an outrageous path of hatred. The culture of peaceful coexistence and intercommunal and interreligious tolerance that the international community is trying to achieve is under threat from marginal and extremist fanatics, said OIC Secretary General Ekmeleddin Ihsanoglu. On Monday, General David Petraeus, the top US commander in Afghanistan, with a name like Petraeus, you gotta trust him. Warned troops lives would be in danger if the church went ahead with its bonfire. The website of Mr. Jones's church was no longer accessible on Thursday, after the company hosting it withdrew from the internet. Yeah, the Church of Jones. Yes. Is it in Jonestown? No, we've already had that one. Rackspace told the AFP news agency the site had violated the offensive content section of its acceptable use policy. Muslims consider the Quran to be the word of God and insist it be treated with the utmost respect. Any intentional damage or show of disrespect to the holy book is deeply offensive to them. That's the end of the article. Okay. No, I've got another one on the similar subject, but I'll probably skip that one for the moment. Just do it later, just to break it up a bit. Pope's UK visit. Policing costs could rise to £1.5 million. I don't know, maybe $2.3 million or something. Pope Benedict's 4-day tour involves more trips to different sites than any previous state visit, says senior police officer. This is in the Guardian. The Pope's tour of Britain, the last articles are all from the BBC. The Pope's tour of Britain next week will require an unprecedented policing operation that could cost as much as £1.5 million, the senior officers said today. Mary Deed Hughes, the Chief Constable of South Yorkshire Police, who is coordinating the operation, said no previous state visit had involved so many trips to so many sites. Pope Benedict, who is due to arrive in Edinburgh next Thursday, will travel to Glasgow, London and Birmingham over the course of his 4-day visit, as visiting dignitaries seldom venture outside London, said Hughes. The papal itinerary meant the visit needed an extra element of coordination. Although he could not put an exact figure on the cost of the policing operation, Hughes said he expected it to total at least £1 million. There will be changes to plans through the hurly-burly of running operations, Hughes said. We will know the cost after the event. The total cost is £20 million, £11 million funded by the church and £9 million funded by the state, but we're talking about £1 million to £1.5 million in policing costs. Speaking at a briefing by the Association of Chief Police Officers in London, he said that while officers would look after the safety and dignity of the Pope, they would also protect those wishing to see him and any protesters against his visit too. There is no intelligence to suggest any specific group will attack the Pope, he said, adding that the last few attacks on the pontiffs were by Catholics. Commander Bob Broadhurst of the Metropolitan Police, who will be responsible for the Pope's safety, said he was confident that things would run smoothly despite the controversial nature of the visit. We are very used to protecting people, be it the Pope or the President of the United States, he said. A key element is getting the blend right and keeping him and his entourage safe. Broadhurst, who was a junior officer when Pope John Paul II made a pastoral visit to the UK 28 years ago, said he did not think as many people would turn out to meet the Pope this time. The 1982 visit was obviously very busy, he said, but we're gearing up a policing plan that involves tens of thousands of people. We are anticipating big numbers. Hughes, who also policed the last papal visit, agreed. This is a very different time to 82, he said. The world has changed and people's willingness to come out has changed. Huh? I don't know. Probably has some link to Mr. Gay UK being from there as well, whatever. Hughes said he had been pleased to see talks take place yesterday between the Archbishop of Southwark and the leaders of the Protest the Pope movement, which is planning to march through London on 18th September to protest against the visit. Broadhurst said he expected no more than 2,000 protesters to join the demonstration, and estimated that between 10 and 20 protesters would turn up at the Pope's pastoral events elsewhere. He pointed out that other events, including a full football programme, were continued during the visit, and the police operation would be nowhere near the scale of the Notting Hill Carnival. He said that while the police were not anticipating any disorderly protests, we may at times be protecting the protesters from the faithful if one or two people get hot under the collar. Broadhurst added, people get very, very passionate and very, very emotional. Do not underestimate the passion and fervour that this will bring. Okay. Fidel Castro says communism doesn't work. Former Cuban president says Marxist model doesn't even work for us, in offhand remark to US journalist Jerry Goldberg. It was a casual remark over a lunch of salad, fish and red wine, but future historians are likely to pass and ponder every word. It's complicated. The Cuban model doesn't even work for us anymore. Fidel Castro's 9-word confession dropped into conversation with a visiting US journalist and policy analyst undercuts half a century of thundering revolutionary certitude about Cuban socialism. That the island's economy is a disaster is hardly news, but the micromanaging maximum leader would so breezingly acknowledge it has astonished observers. Well, it was obviously the time was right, wasn't it, you know? Had a meeting, got a message, spoke to his brothers at the lodge. So you better turn around and do the, reversal against communism thing again now. Oh, okay. Towards the end of a long, relaxed lunch in Havana, after they paid so much for his hospital fees and all that, and helped to avoid death, however many times it was, 180 odd times, 181 I expect. As many as that woman ate chicken wings at the chicken wing eating competition, and she didn't put on any weight at all. She ate 181 chicken wings. It was incredible. Anyway, Jeffrey Goldberg, a national correspondent for The Atlantic magazine, asked Castro if Cuba's economic system was still worth exporting. The reply left him dumbfounded. Did the leader of the revolution just say in essence, never mind? Goldberg wrote on his blog. The 84-year-old retired president did not elaborate, but the implication, according to Julia Zweig, a Cuba expert from the Council on Foreign Relations, who also attended the lunch, there you go, was that the state had too big a role in the economy. Raul Castro had been saying the same thing in public and private since succeeding his older brother 2 years ago. With infrastructure crumbling, food shortages acute, and a monthly average salary of just $25, £16, it has become apparent that near total state control of the economy does not work. But for Fidel to acknowledge the fact could be compared to Napoleon musing that the march on Moscow was not, on reflection, a great success. Frankly, I have been somewhat amazed by Fidel's new frankness, said Stephen Wilkinson. Of course, other people might spin this as like, they've got him, folks, they twisted his brain, they used mind control techniques on him, black boxes and all that. But no, it was just like, it was a time for him to say this stuff. Just go back. I mean, he's like, he's obviously knew it all along and just like keeping quiet about it. It's like if you're fiddling figures. I mean, as an accountant, you're doing it, and it's just a case of wait until you're caught or you decide to speak out about it. You don't just like accidentally fiddle them. You don't accidentally, make those changes, and keep it concealed from everybody. Anyhow. Stephen Wilkinson said that a Cuba expert at the London Metropolitan University, they was amazed by Fidel's new frankness, because he's a bit of an idiot. This is the latest of a series of recent utterances that strike me as being indicative of a change in the old man's character. There you go. Yeah, he's feeding the mind control angle. And they use hideous devices, and who knows what sort of torture he was under, when he wasn't on the camera and all that sort of stuff. The remark should not, however, be interpreted as a condemnation of socialism. Oh yeah, of course. Can't ever do that, added Wilkinson. You always need to put that one out there as like a golden rim around the cloud that everybody can like aspire to. Yeah, socialism is the future. If everybody would get along, I don't understand why they can't. We all could be up in heaven with the cherubs. That is clearly not what he means. Yes, it is. But it is an acknowledgement that the way in which the Cuban system is organised has to change. It is an implicit indication also that he has abdicated governing entirely to Raúl, who has argued this position for some time. We can now expect a lot more changes, and perhaps more rapid changes, as a consequence. Raúl has said Cuba cannot blame the decades-old US embargo for all its economic ills, and that serious reforms are needed. Fidel's statement could bolster the president's behind-the-scenes tussle with apparatchiks. Sounds interesting. Apparatchiks, resisting change. Like, chicks who work in the apparatus. Oh yes, chicks in uniform. Agriculture has been a big disappointment. The lush Caribbean island of 11 million people could be a major food exporter, but central planning and state-run cooperatives have produced chronic shortages, proving an old bitter joke that the revolution's three biggest failures are breakfast, lunch and dinner. Yeah, can't even feed the people. Raúl's reforms are not going well. Oh no, food production fell 7.5% in the first half of the year. I went to Cuba on holiday and to be honest, the place was such a dump, I didn't even bother visiting anywhere. I just stayed by the pool pretty much in the hotel. It was so hot, it was awful. And the club was just full of people just smoking cigars. Loads of tourists and even locals. I mean, if you've been in a club and there's like 200 people with cigars and it's got seemingly no air conditioning and they all seem to smoke at the same time because they're drunk or whatever or brain dead, and it's just got this enormous, whoosh of nicotine everywhere. I was smoking at a time, but even then it was just too much. It was just ridiculous. It was like having, every time that you had that, it was like smoking like 5 or more fags wherever you were, and all the women there were prostitutes, and it was just ridiculous. They understood about 3 words of English, and it was just terrible. It was like, come with me to the toilet. No. I think I got offered, she started at $20 for the night, and then it came down to $15. But I was like, well, everybody heard you say that. I was like a bit naive. It's like, prostitute don't care. But I wasn't interested in paying $15 and walking out with a clap or whatever. Chavez swiftly followed another surprise statement of Castratos, accusing Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad of anti-Semitism. With an announcement that he would meet Venezuelan Jewish leaders. The move was a direct result of Fidel's statement, according to Goldberg. Nah, I was just like about anti-Semitism because the ADL loves to throw that at people. Anti-Defamation League. Marxist reforms. The remarks about Cuban economic policy are not the only surprise statements made recently by the former Cuban leader. Others include, he feels responsible for the... oh dear. He feels responsible for the great injustice of the persecution of Cuban homosexuals in the 1970s. He laments Jewish suffering over the centuries, defends Israel's right to exist, and accuses Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad of anti-Semitism. He appears to regret urging the Soviet Union to nuke the US during the 1962 missile crisis. After I've seen what I've seen and knowing what I know now, it wasn't worth it all. I don't know if he means if it's supposed to be it at all, but it's just got worth it all. Okay, here we go. Islamist militants blamed after suicide bomb kills 16 in Russian Orthodox city. I want to leave that one for a bit, so just break it up a bit. Vladimir Putin says attack in relatively quiet Vladikavkaz was designed to sow enmity between our citizens. At least 16 people were killed today and more than 100 injured when a car bomb ripped through a market in the relatively quiet southern Russian city of Vladikavkaz in what appears to be the latest suicide strike by Islamist militants. Police said the bomber drove into the crowded marketplace at 11:20 a.m. local time, then blew himself up. The bomb hidden in the boot contained the equivalent of 40 kilograms of TNT, officials added. Investigators said the suicide bomber drove a Volga saloon, which he bought on Wednesday in the neighbouring Republic of Ingushetia. The car's previous owner, who was being interrogated, said he had sold it to an unidentified man. Officials said 114 people were injured, with 108 treated in hospital. The death toll rose to 16 when an 18-month-old boy died in intensive care. His 3-year-old sister was critically wounded, the health ministry said. Russia's President Dmitry Medvedev condemned the attack as monstrous. The Prime Minister Vladimir Putin said the attack was designed to sow enmity between our citizens. He called on Russia's substantial Muslim population to make a decisive contribution in the fight against extremism. Don't know what that means exactly. Russia is fighting a rampant Islamist insurgency across Muslim-dominated North Caucasus. Bomb attacks and shootouts take place daily, with Ingushetia, Dagestan and Chechnya the epicenter of the violence. But the Republic of North Ossetia and its historical capital, Vladikavkaz, have been relatively immune. Its inhabitants are predominantly Orthodox Russians, lending a sectarian dimension to the bombing. It was the most serious attack in North Ossetia since the Beslan school siege in 2004, in which 331 people died, most of them children. School children in the Republic were sent home today. Security was also bolstered in Moscow, with traffic police instructed to look out for vehicles with North Caucasus plates. The blast follows another major terrorist strike against civilians in March, when 2 female suicide bombers from Dagestan blew up the Moscow metro. Experts said today's attack may have been in response to the killings over the summer of several rebel commanders by security forces. It appears to be part of a strategy by radical groups to attack soft targets and kill civilians, said Dr. Sarah Moore of Birmingham University, and that's part of that means in England, an expert in political violence in the North Caucasus. An expert starting being the cause of political violence in North Caucasus. Their aim is to destabilize the region and retaliate for federal successes in countering the insurgency in the North Caucasus. Radical groups viewed North Ossetia as a staunch ally of the Emli. It's a new word. It's an enemy ally or enemy ally of the Kremlin and an outpost of Christianity, Moore said, as well as a staging post for federal attacks during Moscow's Second Chechen War. Moore said the choice of North Ossetia and the timing of the attack may reflect infighting within the insurgency. The rebel leaders are there. Duku Umarov stepped down in August and was replaced by Aslanbek Vadalov. Yes, Aslanbek. A veteran Chechen field commander. Umarov has now ousted Vadalov again as head of the self-styled emirate. Vadalov's supporters are believed to have been behind an attack last month on the home village of Ramzan Kadyrov, Chechnya's Moscow-installed president. Okay. These latest attacks could indicate that radical and moderate factions are vying for power within the hierarchy of Islamist insurgency, Moore said. Vladikavkaz, the name means ruler of the Caucasus, was an imperial outpost in Tsarist times and has long been a Russian enclave, surrounded by Muslim villages and highlands. Initially a small fort on the Terek River, founded by Catherine the Great, it played a crucial role in extending Russian control in the region. It is now a bridgehead to the separatist Georgian territory of South Ossetia, recognized by Moscow as an independent state. Huh. See if we've got check for the thing. Yeah. I was checking a few little things. Huh. Oh, I'll do this one. Why not brushing your teeth can kill you. It's in the Telegraph. Scientists have found the reason why not cleaning your teeth can cause heart attacks. A link between poor oral hygiene and increased risk of heart attack has long been suspected, but until now, nobody has been able to figure out exactly why not brushing regularly might bring one on. Now, a Bristol University dental scientist has discovered that a common bacteria responsible for tooth decay and gum disease can break out into the bloodstream and help blood clots to form. In turn, these can cause heart attacks and strokes, which together cause more than 200,000 deaths in Britain each year. Most of the time, Streptococcus bacteria are confined to the mouth. But when someone has bleeding gums, they can get into the blood. There, the bacteria use a protein on the surface called PADA to force blood platelets to bind together to give themselves a protective shield. Howard Jenkinson, professor of oral microbiology, said, "What we have done is whittled down to a single protein molecule on the surface of bacteria that can activate platelet formation. It is the first time that a mechanism from a single bacterium has been shown to activate platelets and make them spread." Describing the mechanism, he said, "When the platelets clump together, they completely encase the bacteria. This provides a protective cover, not only from the immune system, but also from antibiotics that might be used to treat infection. Unfortunately, as well as helping out the bacteria, platelet clumping can cause small blood clots, growth on the heart valves, or inflammation of blood vessels that can block the blood supply to the heart and brain. The study provides evidence for yet one more reason to brush one's teeth and ideally floss." It's funny because I just brush my teeth, obviously, but I'm not a qualified dentist or anything like that. But they're missing out the most important bit. It's not the teeth; it's the gums. I've got to keep the gums healthy. All the bacteria develops in the gum. You get gum disease, and it goes down your throat and goes into your gut, and it gives you all sorts of things. But maybe they'll mention later on. But what do I know? People need to be aware that as well as keeping a check on their diet, blood pressure, cholesterol, and fitness levels, they also and your tongue as well. To cut across for this guy, keeping a clean, healthy tongue is really important as well. So just what do you call it, gastroenteritis or whatever. All sorts of infections you can get comes from the tongue, and you just get basically bad breath. So they also need to maintain good dental hygiene to minimise their risk of heart problems, said the scientist. But the research should also speed up the development of drugs, which could prevent potentially deadly blood clots from forming in the first place. Just try to brush your teeth and gums properly. You won't have to bother about it. I mean, you don't get what do they call them? Somebody's trying to call in. Crocodiles. You don't get crocodiles going to see the dentist, do you? They never have to brush their teeth. They got natural, healthy bacteria, but we got not unnatural, unhealthy bacteria that develop in our gums and stuff. So we just have to clean them because we've not got the same bacteria as they do. We don't drool at the mouth as much as they do. Some people do. But Professor Jenkinson described the recovery of the key protein as a new tool on which to test drugs which might stop it from clotting blood. Anyhow, it's 1 minute 2, and I might be able to finish this one actually. He is working with Dr. Steve Kerrigan of the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland to see how the blood protein's platelet causing function can be blocked, and how him and his colleagues can make loads of money off you. This could eventually lead to new treatments for cardiovascular disease, which is the biggest killer in the developed world, said Professor Jenkinson. He is presenting the research today at the Society for General Microbiology's Autumn Conference. Well, I think the intro music's going to play in a second. I'll just do this one anyway. If the news doesn't play, I'll also be the last one. New chili could take world record. Yes, indeed. It's in the Independent. The monster of chilies could set a new world record, its British producer said today. Anyone stupid enough to eat an infinity chili whole would be unable to stand still for more than a second. and could expect to be laid out for several days. It is so hot, it is the equivalent of drinking acid, and has the same potency as 50 Scotch bonnets, according to Fire Foods in Grantham, Lincolnshire, which has spent 2 years developing the chili. It scores 1,176,182 on the Scoville scale, used to measure the heat in chili peppers, outstripping the current record holder, the Indian Butchaloka, which peaks at 1,041,427 units. Ordinary jalapeno peppers measure between just 2,500 and 5,000 on the Scoville scale. Woody Woods, yeah, I'm sure that's his real name, 37, from Fire Food said, "This is definitely the monster of chilies. This is quite a big jump on the previous record, so we were quite surprised. If you ate one right now, you couldn't work. It would be like putting acid in your mouth. I have had one, and I would never do it again. People think it can't be that bad, but it's phenomenal. It's at least 10 times hotter than a foul curry." Asked why anyone would want to eat a chili pepper so hot, Mr. Woods added, "I think it's a British thing. Everyone wants the biggest, the strongest, the fastest car. Why have the third hottest chili when you can have the hottest? There's an obsession with having the hottest. I put it down to human nature." The Infinity chili is now being sold in a sauce online, priced £6.50. Not really. I sort of like covered everything. It's just more sort of like doom and gloom. So. I might call back in later on, but yeah.